Welcome back to my channel, Celeb Buzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. The mystery about John Denver has finally been solved, and it's much worse than we thought. John Denver was born Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. on December 31st, 1943 in the quiet town of Roswell, New Mexico. His parents were Henry John Deutschendorf Sr., who was a tough and very skilled lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, and Emma Louise Swope, a caring mother who stayed home. They welcomed their son into a world that was already filled with rules, moving around, and big dreams. Because his dad worked in the military, the family moved around a lot, going to different places across the United States and even other countries, including places like Japan and Arizona. This childhood of always moving shaped John's feelings of wanting something more, loving nature, and figuring out who he was. These feelings would later become very important in his music. Something very important happened in Denver's early life when he was just 2 years old. His grandmother saw something special in the little boy and gave him a Gibson acoustic guitar. Even though he was way too young to really understand how important this gift was, it would start his love for music that would last his whole life. In the years that followed, that small guitar became both something that made him feel better and something that guided him, giving him a sense of home, even though his family kept moving because of his dad's Air Force job. As he got older, music became the way he showed his feelings, a private world where he could deal with feeling alone and wanting things to stay the same. During his teenage years, John Denver kept getting more interested in music, teaching himself how to play guitar, and singing along to the folk and country music that was popular back then. Even though he was quiet and kind of shy, the people close to him could see that he was very sensitive and smart in the way he wrote lyrics and melodies. When it was time to go to college, Denver decided to study architecture at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, a choice that was probably made more because his parents expected it than because he really wanted to do it. It was during his time there that music started to become more important than everything else. He joined a college band called the Alpine Trio, and it was in this important musical place that he first started using the name John Denver as a way to honor the capital of his beloved Colorado. This wasn't just a name for the stage, it was the creation of an identity that would one day become famous. In 1963, Denver made a bold and life-changing decision. He realized that architecture could never satisfy the creative hunger that was burning inside him, so he left college before finishing his degree and moved to Los Angeles to pursue music full-time. At that time, LA was the center for the American folk music revival and was filled with countless people who wanted to be artists. Denver faced big challenges during these early years, struggling to find his place in a crowded and competitive industry. But his hard work paid off. After 2 years of trying out for things, performing, and meeting people behind the scenes, he got a job with a well-respected folk group called the Mitchell Trio, taking the place of founder Chad Mitchell. Even though it wasn't being a solo star, it marked the beginning of his professional music career, giving him important experience, connections, and exposure. However, Denver's real dream was to be a solo artist, to share his vision and voice without any limits. In 1969, he made what would turn out to be the most important career decision of his life, to go out on his own. That same year, he released his first solo album, Rhymes and Reasons. While the album didn't immediately make him famous, it had one track that would eventually become one of the most loved folk songs in American history, Leaving on a Jet Plane. The song was originally written in 1966 and first recorded as a demo. The song was picked up by Peter, Paul, and Mary, who released it as a single in 1969. It became a #1 hit, introducing the world to the songwriting genius of John Denver, even before most people knew his name. Using the success of that song, Denver released 2 more albums in 1970, Take Me to Tomorrow and Whose Garden Was This? These albums showed his growing skill with lyrics and a clearer love of nature, thinking deeply and caring about social issues. However, it was in 1971 that Denver had his breakthrough moment as a solo performer. His next album featured the timeless anthem, Take Me Home, Country Roads, a song that really connected with people across America because it talked about missing home, belonging, and loving the natural world. The track became a huge hit, selling over 1 million copies and forever making Denver's place in the history of American folk and country music. Throughout the 1970s, Denver's career took off under the smart management of Jerry Weintraub, who recognized and helped grow Denver's unique appeal. The artist released one hit after another. Each song was filled with warmth, honesty, and a love of life. Songs like Sunshine on My Shoulders, Annie's Song, and Thank God I'm a Country Boy became chart toppers and cultural touchstones. Denver had a gift for expressing joy, pain, and wonder in a way that felt both personal and universal. His songs were not only popular on radio, but also found a place in homes, schools, and hearts across the country. Beyond music, John Denver became a familiar face on television, where his easygoing personality and clean-cut image made him a favorite among viewers of all ages. In 1974, he made a memorable guest appearance on The Muppet Show, showing both a playful sense of humor and a genuine kindness that made children and adults alike love him. In 1977, he took a surprising step into the world of film, starring opposite George Burns in the comedy Oh God. While the movie wasn't a blockbuster, Denver's performance was well received and showed his potential as a multi-talented entertainer with widespread appeal. But Denver was never happy with just being a celebrity. He used his fame to support causes that mattered deeply to him. That same year, 1977, he co-founded the Hunger Project alongside influential thinker Werner Erhard and physicist Robert Fuller. The organization wanted to end world hunger through empowerment and education rather than charity alone. This project marked the beginning of Denver's change into a passionate humanitarian and peace activist. Over the years, he would go on to support environmental causes, wildlife conservation, space exploration, and global peace efforts, proving that his talents and concerns went far beyond the recording studio. In all parts of his life, whether through his moving lyrics, unforgettable melodies, screen appearances, or tireless activism, John Denver showed a rare blend of talent, integrity, and idealism. His music remains a timeless reflection of the human spirit, and his legacy continues to inspire those who believe in the power of art to bring about change, healing, and hope. John Denver, one of America's most beloved singer-songwriters, experienced both the joys and the sorrows of romantic relationships throughout his life. In 1968, at the height of his early career, Denver married Annie Martell, a beautiful and soft-spoken young woman from Minnesota. Their meeting was like fate, growing into a deep connection that inspired one of Denver's most famous songs, Annie's Song, which he wrote in just 10 minutes while on a ski lift in Aspen, Colorado. The lyrics, filled with poetic admiration and tender devotion, were a heartfelt tribute to Annie and captured the depth of his love for her at the time. The song later became one of his biggest hits, further making their relationship immortal in the history of popular music. The couple settled in Aspen, a beautiful town that mirrored Denver's love for nature and the outdoors. During their 12-year marriage, John and Annie adopted 2 children, a son, Zachary John Denver, and a daughter, Anna Kate Denver. John often spoke of how deeply becoming a father changed his life, calling the adoption of Zachary one of the most joyful experiences he had ever known. He frequently said how much he adored his children, and he even mentioned that having them gave his life deeper meaning beyond the fame and applause. Despite their deep bond and shared love, however, John and Annie's marriage eventually began to show signs of strain. The pressures of fame, a tough touring schedule, and the challenges of keeping a personal life while in the public eye contributed to growing tensions between them. After years of trying to make it work, the couple ultimately divorced in 1982. Denver later admitted that he had never really gotten over Annie and that losing her was one of the greatest regrets of his life. Years later, in 1988, Denver married for a second time, this time to Cassandra Delaney, an actress and singer from Australia. Their relationship was passionate and energetic, and the couple often traveled together between the United States and Australia. Cassandra, known for her role in the film Fair Game, brought a new sense of excitement and youthful energy into Denver's life. Together, they had one daughter, Jessie Belle Denver, born in 1989. John cherished Jessie Belle deeply and spoke lovingly of her in interviews, frequently seen at public events, holding her hand or offering a protective embrace. However, as with his first marriage, this union also faced difficulties. The challenges of maintaining a relationship under the scrutiny of the media, coupled with the couple's different lifestyles and personal ambitions, eventually led to their separation. By 1993, Denver and Delaney had officially divorced, marking the end of his second and final marriage. Although saddened by the end of yet another significant relationship, Denver remained a devoted father. So he made efforts to stay involved in the lives of all 3 of his children and often emphasized how fatherhood remained one of the most grounding and meaningful parts of his existence. For years, fans of the legendary American singer-songwriter John Denver have been haunted by lingering questions surrounding the tragic and untimely end to his life. Denver, who was best known for his soaring vocals and heartfelt ballads such as Take Me Home, Country Roads, Annie's Song, and Rocky Mountain High, died on October 12th, 1997, in a plane crash off the coast of Pacific Grove, California. Although the official report said the accident happened because of pilot error, fuel mismanagement, and a poorly placed fuel selector valve in his experimental Rutan Longzhi aircraft. Recent revelations and re-examinations of the case have opened up a darker, more troubling story, one that suggests his death may not have been as simple as a tragic mistake. In the months leading up to his death, John Denver had been facing significant personal and professional problems. Despite his huge fame in the 1970s and early 1980s, Denver's popularity had dropped in the later years of his career, and he struggled to find a stable place in the ever-changing music industry. In addition to career challenges, his personal life was marked by divorce, public scrutiny, and a string of run-ins with the law, most notably 2 arrests for driving under the influence, one in 1993 and another in 1994. These incidents led to the taking away of his pilot's license for a period of time, a fact that becomes all the more scary in hindsight. What many people don't know is that Denver was flying that ill-fated plane without a valid pilot's license. It had been suspended at the time due to his past DUI convictions. This raises disturbing questions about why he would take such a risk and whether something deeper was troubling him beneath his ever-optimistic public image. He was known for his deep connection to nature, his advocacy for environmental causes, and his humanitarian efforts. But privately, Denver was reportedly battling depression and struggling with a deep sense of loneliness and frustration over the direction of his life and career. Adding to the mystery is the controversy surrounding the aircraft itself. The Rutan Longzhi, while a sleek and innovative home-built plane, had a known design flaw that made its fuel valve switch difficult to access in flight. Denver's own plane had this switch awkwardly placed behind the pilot's left shoulder, requiring an unsafe move to reach it, especially midair. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, Denver likely lost control of the aircraft while attempting to switch fuel tanks. But why would an experienced pilot like Denver fly an experimental plane with such an obvious problem? And why did he not have it fixed before taking to the skies? In recent investigations conducted by aviation safety analysts and former NTSB consultants, it was revealed that John Denver's crash wasn't just the result of a single error, but the final link in a long chain of oversights, negligence, and even institutional failure. The plane had significant modifications that didn't comply with FAA regulations. Denver had asked the mechanic multiple times to relocate the fuel selector valve to a more accessible position, but this safety improvement was never made. In fact, the FAA had received multiple warnings about the dangers of this aircraft design from other pilots, but failed to act. Furthermore, Denver had been denied the renewal of his pilot's license due to a history of DUI convictions, yet he was still permitted to fly this experimental aircraft because of a technical loophole. All of these ignored red flags contributed to a deadly flight that could and should have been prevented. Recent interviews with close friends and aviation experts suggest that Denver may have been desperate to regain a sense of freedom and control. Flying was one of the few remaining passions he could turn to, a place where he could escape the noise of public life and the pain of personal disappointments. Yet this comfort may have also clouded his judgment, pushing him to take risks he otherwise would have avoided. Some close to him have speculated that Denver's mental state at the time may have played a role in his decision-making, suggesting the possibility that his final flight might not have been merely an accident. It was a subconscious act of recklessness or even resignation. To make matters worse, allegations have surfaced in recent years about conflicts involving Denver's estate, business dealings, and tensions within his family and inner circle. These disputes cast a shadow over the aftermath of his death, adding layers of legal and emotional turmoil that many fans were never aware of. Behind the sunny persona and the pristine natural imagery in his songs, John Denver's final years reveal a man more complex, troubled, and vulnerable than the world ever imagined. In the end, the mystery surrounding John Denver's death is not just about a plane crash or mechanical failure. It is a story about how fame, isolation, inner demons, and a yearning for peace can collide in devastating ways. And while we may never know every detail of what truly happened in the skies over Monterey Bay that fateful day, the full picture that is now emerging is far more tragic and far more human than we were ever led to believe.